Hey listeners, it's Paul Andriola here. Why not join our community at Small Cap Discoveries, where we offer our members direct access to some of the best microcap investment opportunities available. Our members are getting access to premium microcap financings, research reports, and direct access to management. Sign up today at www.smallcapdiscoveries.com.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Small Cap Discoveries conference call. Today is November 25th, 2024, and today on our call we have the CEO, Ted Clark from Y2Wi. Y2Wi trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol YTY and on the OTC under ISEYF. The company is currently trading at 8.5 cents with about 153 million shares outstanding, or about a $13 million market cap. I'd now like to hand it over to Paul Andriola.
Hey, thanks a lot, Trevor. Excuse me. Ted, I gotta confirm: is it Y2Wi or is it Y2Y? Because I don't know how to pronounce it.
It's Y2Y.
There we go.
Just like the stock symbol and just like Wi-Fi.
Exactly.
It was Wi-Fi history, so Y2Y.
Fantastic. Let's keep it simple. Okay, perfect. Ted, this is a relatively new name to our network, so really glad we can get you on today to tell everybody what Y2Y is all about. So you've got a pitch deck. I know Trevor's going to put it up here right now.
Great.
There we go. Ted, tell us all about Y2Y.
Sure, be glad to. Just as a quick introduction, I've been in the technology business for a long time. And spent my whole career in technology. Probably the latest big job I had, I was an HP guy for running the laptop division. So I have a lot of experience here, and I'm excited about this opportunity at Y2Y. I've been with the company about 10 months, something like that. And so I'm going to give you just kind of the overview as I see it, and look forward to maybe getting some questions at the end of this. But we are a global manufacturer, although we are, and I'll talk a little more about this. We are wholly, in the United States now, and made in America primarily, and that's good for our customer base. So let's go to the next slide. First slide. We are in the frequency control electronics market. Frequency control is a specialized component that exists on every single electronics board out there. And basically, the simplest way to look at it is, in the simplest form, is something called a crystal oscillator. A crystal oscillator is actually a very finely cut piece of quartz crystal that is about the size of your fingerprint. And that is put a couple of electrodes on there. And when you stimulate it electronically, it has a very, very predictable frequency. And it's the clock signal for all electronics. As an example, an Intel 6 gigahertz processor has a clock signal that oscillates 6 billion times a second. We build all kinds of different frequencies with different tolerances, and basically every single thing that lights up electronically has some kind of frequency control on it to keep things in sync. We think about it as we keep the world ticking. That's how these devices work. Now, there's all kinds of different devices specialized. We also make filters. We'll talk a little more about this, that just let in certain electronic signals. But the most important thing for this call is we have an outstanding customer base. We have customers, as it shows here, avionics, aerospace, industrial equipment. We sell to the government. We are a B2B, business to business company. We don't really sell any consumer. We have great customers like Garmin, Collins Aerospace, Rockwell, Honeywell, big customers that have been with us for sometimes 20 years. The company was a privately held company started about 30 years ago and then was acquired by Y2Y. The brand that it was known by in the past is Precision Devices, PDI, and you'll see that in a lot of our website and that kind of thing. But we, as I mentioned, we are located in Middleton, Wisconsin, the Madison, Wisconsin area. We're essentially made in America, and that's good for a lot of our government and U.S. military contracts. And we are very good at high-end engineering for these, critical and difficult customer base. We engineer, we design, we manufacture, and we take care of our customers throughout the product life, which can be a long time, 15, 20 years. Some of these parts have been around for 15 or 20 years, and the customers are still buying, or they're buying derivatives of those. So we're very proud of our technology. We're very proud of our customer base. And the last thing I'll add is, and I saw this as I came into the company, we have a culture of customer satisfaction and a culture of quality. And a lot of companies will tell you, yes, we have a culture of quality. This is built in and has been part of our company culture for, it seems like, the entire time. And again, I've only been here 10 months, but I've been around a long time, and I've heard companies say, yeah, we take care of our customers. We have a culture of quality. This is really, I didn't have to say one, customer has a problem, we take care of it. We have a quality, every now and then you have a quality, we take care of it. It is built in. And so we are also fully ISO 9001. We take that very seriously. So we're focused on doing the right things from a manufacturing standpoint. Let's go to the next slide. So I'm not going to go through this in detail, but I mentioned, frequency control has a number of components. These components are very specialized and take a very experienced engineering team to work on. We pride ourselves in our ability to do custom products for our corporate customers, and those products can be bought in some other places, but we get the typical sales cycle is we get a specification, we turn it into a drawing, we take that drawing back to the customer, we say this will meet your needs. They say, okay, give us some samples. We put together the samples and then get them to the customer, and they might be putting those in designs, electronic boards, PCB boards, and they would put them in designs for, building airplanes or building, control equipment for industrial applications. Now that's a long sales cycle, okay? And typically we might give samples, and then we might give a few more samples to, get the design done, but we may not see those orders be placed for 2 quarters or 3 quarters. So it's a classic B2B type sales cycle. And what we do with these products is we're on a slow, steady increase, and I think we're doing well where that's concerned. Now, there are lots of variations of this. I'm not going to go through all these different variations, but there's some pretty sophisticated technology in these types of products, especially when the customers are having different specifications that come in. You have to be good at not only the manufacturing side, but the engineering and design side as well. So just as to give you an understanding of the market, every electronic device, as I mentioned, has some kind of frequency control on it. Some big complex boards have 2, 3, 4 kind of either oscillators or these different kinds of filters. And so the market, let's move to the next slide. The market is big today and it's growing. I've seen even estimates that, and this is again US dollars, I've seen estimates that are even higher than this, but let's just say that I don't think anyone out there would say the number of different electronic devices and electronic boards and electronic components is going to decrease going forward. That's only going to increase, whether it's in kids' toys or exercise equipment or your refrigerator or phones or watches or what, automobiles is a big market as well. The automotive industry, with all the different screens and devices now that are part of that, there are millions and millions and tens of millions of frequency control needed for the upcoming, increase in all kinds of automated things in automobiles. So the point is, we're at about 3 billion today, US dollars, going to 4 billion. That growth rate, I think, is conservative, but we'll go with it because that's a market research, dollar amount. But the main thing is this. This market is going to continue to grow. We're well positioned with our corporate customers, and that is a formula for success for driving our top line higher as we go forward. I will say a lot of this, probably 2/3 of this is consumer. The consumer market is much lower cost, mostly driven out of Asia, where there might be 10-cent parts, or there might be 50-cent parts at the most, sold in the hundreds of thousands or even the millions. That's not us. We have orders on the books for things like, let's say 1,000 parts at $75, or 2,000 parts at $45. I'm just giving examples, but we have orders along those lines. And when you think about it, it's when things are being built into large scale industrial equipment or into aircraft or into even satellites, those kinds of things, you have high volume, but they're high end electronics. And that's the segment of the market that we're in. So, again, I will make a plug for the fact that we are made in America. Of course, we source many of our components from Asia, but we put it together, and we are the final, stopping point for all manufacturing for these devices and these components, and we ship them to our customers fully designed, fully tested, and ready to go. So maybe let's go to the next slide. So this is an important slide financially. These are US dollars, just to emphasize that again. And I want to highlight the 4 years, 2016 through 2019, prior to COVID. COVID had a big impact on this, as you can see. But in those 4 years, 2016 to 2019, it was the same customer base, the same product set, essentially, and the same design manufacturing capability, and really the same team that we have now in Middleton, Wisconsin. So what happened? Why didn't we recover from COVID? And I will just say one quick thing I say about my predecessor. The focus was on commoditized wireless Wi-Fi products that really, we still sell a few of them, but it's very hard to innovate in a standards-based technology arena like Wi-Fi, because you have to meet the standard. And if everything is driven by a standard like it is in Wi-Fi, A, B, C, G, N, whatever all those qualifiers are, then that becomes a commodity and goes generally to the lowest bidder. And as a small company like we are, mostly in the US. Now, there was an office in San Jose that's been closed down. There was an office in India that's been closed down. I'm consolidating and focusing on our core, kind of the stick to the knitting strategy. And even though we're called Y2Y, for the most part, we are a frequency control company. So basically, the point of this slide is there is absolutely no reason as the first step and tier one goal of mine is to get back to that $10 million US, run rate, revenue rate. And with that, you can see that we were profitable then. There is absolutely no reason we can't get back there. As I said, the market's even bigger than it was then and growing. We have the same product set, we have the same expertise, and we have the same team, basically. And so we're going to get back to there. Once we get to that $2 million, $2.5 million a quarter run rate, we will be profitable, and we will start looking at, okay, now what's the edge out and the breakout strategy from here, either through acquisition or going into adjacent markets. But that's the first goal that I have. Become, make a dollar, become profitable, get to that $2 million quarter, that $2.5 million quarter, and that run rate. And it's very doable because we have done it before. So, we're on a kind of a slow, steady right now. We've improved our revenue every quarter for the last 3 quarters. That's certainly the goal. I'm not afraid of a low margin business, but as you see, we've actually improved our margins. And back at that time, we had 25% basic margins and double-digit 10% operating profit. That is the model we're going to get to as the first tier of, let's call it success. I won't be satisfied with that, but that's the first tier, and we will go from there. Now, the only joke I have for you is, although we are in the U.S. primarily, or wholly now, we're a Canadian company, and I keep telling my team, I want the hockey stick. I mean, I'm not a hockey guy, but I want the hockey stick for our revenue. I haven't found it yet. We are still working on that. We will get there. But for now, we'll take the slow and steady increase quarter over quarter, and we will become profitable. And then as we get to that $2.5 million quarter, and on a $10 million US run rate, we're going to go places, and we're going to take this to the next level. But I'm not ready for that discussion yet, because we got to get there first. So let's go to the next slide, and I'll try to kind of summarize where we are here. I've been through most of this. I'm not going to go through all of this again, but we are a proven track record company. We have a long history with this customer base. We're trying to do 2 things. Increase our sales team. Our sales team was pretty depleted when I got in. We need to hire some more feet on the street. We've hired some good manufacturers reps. We've hired some pretty good distributors. We're going to expand our reach into the marketplace, number one, but we're also going to expand our reach into our current customers. For example, I was recently at a Collins Aerospace supplier conference, and they had the picture of the airplane up there on their PowerPoint, and they had 14 areas where they did work to enhance the airplane. They had navigation, they had the controller that moves the flaps, they had communication equipment inside the aircraft, radio, that kind of thing, intercom. And so I looked at those 14. We are the preferred supplier. We are a preferred supplier at Collins Aerospace. And I thought, this is great. And then I realized, wait a minute, We're only in 9 of those areas. Why aren't we in the other 5? And so, we can expand our footprint inside our current customers as well as finding more customers. And we're all over that. So um, that's how we're going to drive this. I believe we will be able to get back to that level of financial performance. And I certainly think we will continue to, you know, take care of, hold on to those customers and expand that, as I said. So I think basically that covers kind of the high level. I'm happy to take questions or provide anything I can to clarify.
Excellent. Excellent, Ted. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, a quick reminder for everybody that's listening, as usual, if you guys have a question you'd like me to ask Ted, please use the chat function. I'll read it and we can ask Ted that question. Ted, I mean, you touched on it a little bit through your presentation, but it really sounds like you guys, your advantage right now is that you're US based and you can really supply almost a customized or a higher end, high touch service to your clients. Is there anything else you can describe as your competitive advantage when you're competing against some of your other players?
Well, it's a great question. Certainly what you mentioned, the ability for us to get to that customer base and quickly respond. I think we have a turnaround time for engineering and design that's second to none. I mean, we can do it in a couple of days, a day or a couple of days. And that's what our customers really value for us when they go out to the general market, if there is such a thing as a general market for this. And they have relationships, I'm sure. I mean, they second source some of this, but we're the go-to team, not only because of our engineering, but because of the quality of our manufacturing and our focus on quality, as I mentioned. This manufacturing, I was much more used to an assembly line or, running boards through an SMT process. This is much more like a job shop. This is much more fine tuning specific things that you really need experience for. For example, we have something called an etch room where all of these crystal discs are brought in, and we have them literally by the millions. Those have to be finely tuned, sometimes refined with chemicals to make the frequency match exactly what we're trying to build. And then the crystals themselves, the crystal discs themselves, go into our clean room. And we have specific capabilities in that clean room that, are certainly a differentiator for us versus kind of the basic consumer, just roll them out in by the tens of thousands. We pay, we do things by hand to get them precisely tuned that other companies are not doing. So it's both design and it's both engineering and manufacturing where I think we have a competitive advantage. If that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. A quick question though is staff count. How big is the company in terms of staff?
50-ish, mostly operations, but we've got a good size, for our size, we have 5-6 engineering guys. And for the most part, it's operationally focused, manufacturing focused.
Mm-hmm. And I want to reiterate what you said earlier. You guys have been here sort of before, like the business was nicely profitable in the past. If anything, now there's more of a focus on what was working in the past. But what if anything, do you have to change in terms of what you're doing right now to be able to get there?
I think number one, and as simple as it sounds, but I'm an execution guy. Okay, it's how well do we execute, and again, the focus was a little bit all over the place. We are now 100% focused on frequency control and executing in frequency control, and that's what our staff understands very well. There wasn't that focus on it for quite some time, even back in that 2016 through 2019, the focus was moving to this new world of Wi-Fi. And I understand that a little bit, but having spent time in the standards-based PC world, to differentiate, you got to be great. And the focus was lost on frequency control. So that's really what we're doing is 100%, 24/7, focus on frequency control and taking care of these customers and expanding our customer base throughout. I mean, we have the opportunity to sell into Asia and sell into Europe. That's not our focus right now, but it has been done in the past. And we've got some partnerships in Hong Kong and some partnerships in the London area that we can expand internationally as well, but that's not the primary focus right now.
Mm-hmm. Now, Ted, you've mentioned what your competitive edge is, but maybe give us a sense of what the competitive landscape looks like. Are you competing against large players, small players? What does it look like?
It's we're competing against both. I mean, Kyocera, Texas Instruments, those are kind of the big guys that you've probably heard of. But there's Raycon, TXC, Murata, Microchip, all of these smaller, less brand name who have some capability to do some of this. I would match our customer base up against any of those folks, though, and the longevity of that customer base, because we know how to take care of both, large scale business customers as well as corporate. I mean, as well as military and government customers. I will tell you, just here's an example where we've been working with a company in Japan, believe it or not, who's making military radios. And that's again where we have a lot of experience. And they came to us, they've been a customer of ours for a while, and they ordered 7 different crystal oscillator, or I should say filters, I'm sorry, for their radios, different frequencies, and they're putting them in by the thousands into military radios in Japan. So we do have some international, but it's mainly that expertise that these kinds of customers keep coming back to us because we can get it done, and we can get it done on time, in the volumes they need at the price they're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Now you've basically been there for about 10 months, I think you said. This last quarter saw, sizable bump up in revenue over the same period last year. What is it that you've implemented that's caused that growth this last quarter?
I would like to I would like to tell you all this whole bunch of great. It's focus. It's really, this is what we do. I mean, it's as simple as the classic stick to your knitting strategy and execute. I mean, one thing there are no excuses. I mean, we've had our various, things that go wrong, but I've been in manufacturing for a long time. You got to get it repaired, get it fixed, and get going. And, I would say we've also done a pretty good job, as I mentioned, of bringing on some new sales activity, some manufacturers reps. They have brought in some good new business. We have someone we brought on who's got a lot of experience in this, who is helping us out as well. So some of it is because we've expanded our sales force and we've gotten a broader look at this, but we're just at the beginning point of that. And that's why I'm optimistic, because we are not covering our sales territory nearly as well as we can going forward. And that's why I'm optimistic we can, get to that 2 million and that $2.5 million quarter into that $10 million run rate. And again, as I said, from there, and we're profitable, then we can look at, okay, what's next? And that's also the fun part.
Mm-hmm. That was kind of part of my next question here. Is it seems like right now it's sort of traditional block and tackling. You're doing basic stuff to sort of get you back to where you were before. But what happens next? Are there any other growth initiatives that you look at once you sort of get to that level?
That's the great question. And to be honest, we've looked at some things, but I'm not ready to, say this is where we're headed. I can just tell you that, as I mentioned, we're probably not going to find the hockey stick in frequency control. I mean, unless we somehow are able to invest and go internationally, or we can make an acquisition, of course we can do it there. But I think there are potential adjacent markets, and I think there's potential for some of the things that we're good at in terms of design and engineering, that we can open up some new things as we get to that profitable level. But honestly, we are not spending a lot of time on that, because we just got to get to that, we got to get to that stand on our own 2 feet level, and go from there.
Mhm.
But that's I gotta say, that's the stay tuned. We'll be back to talk to this group again. I hope in a couple of quarters, where we can talk about our next generation
Awesome.
strategy.
That's awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I look forward to that for sure. Um, the current sort of, we'll call it the platform, the business as is, what kind of capacity revenue wise do you think you can achieve with what you have right now?
Great question. We are operating right now on one shift, and we are operating in a facility that has room to expand even in that one shift. But we could, I mean, again, this is all about selling, but we have the capacity. I think without, we would have to hire people, we'd have to bring on some new equipment, and we would have to probably expand our engineering somewhat. But I mean, we could double our capacity in our current kind of run rate, processes. We could also add a second shift. So one thing, the other thing I tell my team is, even though we have that capability to bring on more people, I'm looking forward to the day when my engineering team and my operations team are basically begging me for more resource, because we got too many orders, and that's exactly where we want to invest, and that's exactly where we will invest. But I don't lose sleep over our ability to scale, if that's the quick answer to your question.
Gotcha. No, perfect. Thank you. Okay, a couple sort of stock questions. You're a public company. Now, how much familiarity do you have sort of running a public company? Is this obviously HP, everybody knows that's a public company, but
Yeah.
as far as, in the chair you're in right now?
Yeah. So in the chair I'm in right now, this is my first CEO job. I know a lot about the blocking and tackling of making a public company run. I mean, I used to write the financial analyst, one of my jobs, the financial analyst, quarterly report for some of the senior executives at the time when I was there. I did a lot of business strategy for how do we take the next step as a public company. Um, I, I had a CEO, brilliant guy, who basically I walked into his office one time, and he said, "Oh, you're Mr. 42 cents." And I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, that was your contribution to our earnings this quarter. Is you brought in 42 cents. Thank you very much." Right? So a profit for the company. So, but I've never run a public company, but it's not, I'm not a finance expert either. But I know a lot about, I know let's put it this way, simplest answer, I know what a good P&L looks like. Okay. And I've had a good P&L in my past, and that was in the billions, measured, not in the millions. So I'm very comfortable with it, but this is my first running of a public company.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Okay, so listen, let's jump on some of the questions that have come in. We'll
Sure.
tackle those, and then we can go back to some of mine here. Anshul says here, two quick questions. What is customer concentration roughly by percentage?
Of those markets that I would say we are big in aerospace, aviation, and big in military. So some of the large orders we have right now are actually going into different types of missile systems for the U.S. military. So, and some in industrial equipment as well. We're trying to get in, but so aviation, aerospace, military are probably the big three for us. And we've got a real effort underway to move into automotive because automotive is starting to that may be a hockey stick with every automobile you get in going forward having, you know, crazy computer capability, navigation, giant screens, and all the rest of it. So I would say those three plus aspirational to be in automotive in a bigger way.
Ted, give me a sense because it may be that some people are thinking, one of your products goes into a car, but with all the electronics inside a car, how many
Yes.
units could be in a car?
Well, from the smallest, kind of electronics controlling, just certain systems, all the way up to the big electronics navigation screens. I mean, I don't know the answer, but there would be more than a handful, let's say, of frequency control products in an automobile these days. An electric automobile, probably even more. But some of those, and I mentioned the consumer side of this, the 10-cent parts or the 50-cent parts, which is not our business. We generally refer to that as the popcorn that's going into some of those. But outside of that, there are, I would guess, a handful or more of higher end frequency control going into every automobile these days. Now, I'm not an expert in the automotive market, but certainly, like I said, an aircraft. I mean, just Collins Aerospace themselves had 14 areas around the airplane where they were doing electronics or some kind of control system. I mean, that's many, many, many frequency control components in those kinds of applications, aerospace.
Mhm. Yeah, makes sense. And then back to sort of the concentration question. Do you have any one company that is like, say, over 10% of the revenue of the business?
I wouldn't say over 10%, no. I mean, again, it's that Collins Aerospace, Garmin, Rockwell, Raytheon, Honeywell, those kinds of companies. But it's a long list of, as I mentioned, we've got a few international companies that some of them drive pretty big volume for us. So I mean, I should know the answer to this probably, but probably maybe a customer we have maybe 5% of our revenue, but probably not more than that.
Okay, gotcha. Now, Angela also asked a second part of this question, and I don't know what it means, but could you share cage code? Does that mean anything to you?
Cage code is
Yeah.
not something I'm familiar with.
Okay, so maybe
Cage code. Now,
yeah.
someone may call me out and say, "Oh, well, that electronic components." I don't know cage code,
Okay.
but I will research it now.
We'll ignore that unless
You
Angela
always
can.
got to get at least one question that you don't know the answer to.
You
I
know
don't
what?
know the answer to that one.
We've got smart listeners. Most of the questions go way over my head
Obviously,
anyway.
yes.
So yeah. Okay, so what does insider ownership look like, specifically the C-suite management team? Now, you're fresh to the company. You're not a founder, so
Yes.
clearly you didn't get shares like that. But
Yes.
maybe
Well,
description.
I am a stockholder, but I'm a small stockholder. But I'm change that as we go forward because all of the management team as well as the board have stock options. Most have exercised. but we have one or two large shareholders on our board, and I will become a larger shareholder sometime throughout the rest of this calendar year. But I think we have all of our board members or shareholders or all but one, but we're working on that.
Mhm.
And I think it's important, and we've been in discussions about that, and we will get everybody on board as a shareholder for sure.
Mhm.
I will say, hop to the side. I didn't know about SETI. So I got my hand slapped because I didn't register quickly enough with some of my shares. So that's a different discussion.
Yeah,
But
yeah, exactly.
that's one I didn't know about completely
Trust,
on the
yeah,
Canadian exchange.
yeah. Trust me.
Anyway,
Between SETI and CEDAR, you got your hands full trying to figure those
yes,
two out.
yeah, yes. And
Yeah.
that part I need a little help with.
We all do. Okay, so you recently announced private placement. One of the questions is, are you aware of any insider participation in the private placement that's just been announced?
No, we're trying to get new investors, and we're not participating in that. In fact, I think of our executive team and our board would exercise options to become shareholders.
Mhm.
So
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. Okay, so has the Made in America mandate already weeded out your competition, or is there an opportunity to gain more market share through competitors being weeded out because of this?
that's a great question. So I'm going to refrain from making any political commentary, but I will say that I am extremely optimistic that in January of this year, when we have our new administration, they're going to be super pro business, pro small business, pro military, pro industry overall. We will probably have to deal with some tariffs. We deal with those today. But overall, I can't see anything but, green field going on for the next 4 years in this upcoming U.S. administration. So I'll say it that way that, I'm very optimistic about our ability to take advantage of opportunities that come up with a real focus on driving business from our new administration.
Mhm. Now, are all your manufacturing facilities in the US, or do you have anything
Yes,
outside? Okay.
all in the U.S.
Okay.
That wasn't always the case,
Mhm.
but all of the frequency control manufacturing has always all been in the US. There was some wireless Wi-Fi in India, but no longer.
Mhm. Um, one question just
Excuse
yeah,
me. Let me
sure,
mention one other thing that
sure.
I didn't mention, but I'm very excited about. But it's right now it's hand waving, so it means nothing because you can't see it. We are redoing the website completely. It will be a complete overhaul where we bring the focus of the company much more focused back to frequency control. You don't get that with the current website, and there's nothing wrong with that because that was the strategy. That's not my strategy. That's not our strategy now. And I expect that to roll out I hope in the January timeframe. I wish I could turn it on and show it to you right now. I can't, but you will see us take a step function change in the way the website looks, and it will reflect all that I'm talking about right here much more readily than you see now on our current website.
Fantastic. Okay, good. Prices. I've got a question here regarding the ability to raise prices. Do you have the ability to raise prices here, or do you,
We
or that's not something you're going to look at?
Now, we do have the ability to raise prices. Now, I will tell you, as the small company surrounded by big suppliers and big customers. I used to be one of those big customers, right? And so, I mean, honestly, the whole job is to grind down the little guy. And that's what our customers try to do to us, no question about it. But we've got some experience. We've got some, I mean, we are not going to lose money just because they won't take a price increase. We are going through, it's a timely question. We are going through the 2025 product list. We get a list from, say, one of our big customers that said, okay, we're going to buy these 60 parts we've been buying from you, for the past 5 years, and we want a 10% reduction on every part. Well, we go through the whole list and we are, I think, diligent about if we can lower a price here and there, we will do that. But for the most part, we're going back and saying we can't do it. We got to raise prices on some of these. And so I think we're pretty disciplined in our pricing process. Even when they come back and they try to beat us to death, we I'd say are pretty good at doing our best for our manufactured products to keep those in line with what our costs are. Now, I didn't mention one thing. We have three categories of products: distributed, where we just buy and pass it through because that's a customer convenience. We're not that interested in that business, but when a big customer like Garmin says, "Oh yeah, we want to buy 100 of these as well," we'll do that. That's our distributed category. Not low cost. It's not our business really. We do it as a service. Value add, where we bring in some components, we might do special testing on them, we might tweak them slightly, and we get okay but kind of low margin business on that, and we again send that through. Where we are focused and where the change is, I would say, in me and my predecessor, is our design and manufactured products, what we call our manufactured products, which is we do the grounds up, we design it, we spec it, and we build it in-house. That's where the bread and butter is, and that's where the margin is, and that's where the revenue is. That's what we're focused on. So we're focused on our own internally manufactured products in, good old made in the USA kind of story and reality.
Ted, how do you go actually out there and get sales? Like, is it sole sourced? Is it bid? Is it just waiting for your customer to come and tell you what they need?
We have experienced sales folks who have been doing this for a long time. We typically call on the design engineer in some of these big companies, or design engineers, I should say. And what are you working on? What are you focused on? They need to get this stuff. This is a fundamental component that goes on every single board. And they know it's not the simplest thing in the world to do. So they've got it as a priority. And so our manufacturers reps, some of our distributors, and our direct salespeople are out there. We used to have folks out in the regions. We're going to re-establish that. But, primarily it's on the phone, face to face, making sales calls on the key component. And then, of course, we get purchasing involved, and those are the guys that are never happy with the price, and we know how to deal with that as well. But we're a face-to-face, sales organization, direct sales organization, with some help from manufacturers reps.
Perfect. Okay, well, listen, recently you just announced a financing. We're the big participants in this financing.
Yes.
Maybe give us a sense of what you're going to use the capital for, and then going forward, any other potential financing requirements you see.
Right. So primarily working capital right now, just to make sure we have the ability to, where we need to expand, we can expand either through employees. going forward, as we briefly discussed, when we want to really expand our capacity, and this is probably phase 2, round 2, is we would need to add on some more equipment, just so we've got parallel paths with the equipment that we need to build these components. So for the most part, it's, expanding capacity through adding employees and through adding equipment. And, I look forward to that day when we're completely out of capacity with one of our pieces, something like a seam welder, which welds the little can shut, that we sell. So I'm looking forward to that day.
Perfect. Me too. Me too. Challenges. What sort of keeps you up at night right now?
Well, you know, we're a small we're a small company. Um, every now and then, well, first of all, I know enough about manufacturing is whatever's going to go wrong will go wrong, but we're pretty good at recovering that. But we've got quite a number of people who have been with the company a long time. One of the things I hope to do is invest in those employees, when we are profitable. We have pretty good, when I came on, I was worried about turnover and finding experienced employees. But for the most part, we've got a great staff who keeps people motivated, keeps people going, and they seem to be very happy working for the company. And as I try to talk to everybody. They're motivated. So I think just keeps me up at night is how do we ramp this faster? And that's just it. But because I'm an impatient guy when it comes to, I can see at least the first tier of success. I want to be there yesterday. And they say the problem with instant gratification is that it takes too long. Well, I'm that guy.
I like that. I like that. I mean, speaking of growth, what do you think is I don't know how to say this. What kind of growth would you think is achievable, I guess, without sort of, stepping outside the comfort zone?
No, I think that, 2 million a quarter, 2.5 million a quarter, that $10 million US run rate, that's our goal. I think we can do that with the basic setup we have right now because we did it 5 years ago. If I can't do that, somebody should fire me, right? And it's now, again, COVID was stop building airplanes, stop building industrial equipment, so shut a whole bunch. That I understand the fall off. What I don't understand is why it hasn't, returned more in a trajectory toward normal, toward the past, let's say. So we get to that 2 million, 2.5 million run rate, and then, I believe I've got a harder job than just focusing to get us back there. And I believe we can get there. And I can't tell you when, but it's a matter of when, not if, that we will get there. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. I guess then you sort of touched on once you get there, more options are available to you, more things that you consider. But is there like an end goal? Is there a bigger mandate to say I'm going to get it to this size and maybe sell it or
I don't have that right now, just because it's a little bit difficult. That we've got to get profitable, right? We want this company to stand on its own 2 feet and move forward. And right now, that's where we are. And so I wish I had the end game for design, I mean, for that we had laid out in terms of the corporate strategy. I don't have that yet. Wish I did, but we will get there.
Yeah. And Ted, is this a business where the kind of orders you're getting right now, are they material enough to sort of press release, or is this just a lot of, you call them singles and doubles rather than home runs?
Well, that's an interesting question. I probably wouldn't. The orders, what we've done, one of the initiatives that I've taken is um, to do a better job at looking and managing our order book. So when I came in, it wasn't totally clear, what we had on the books for third quarter. I came in first quarter for third quarter or fourth quarter of this year. I have a much better idea of at least where the trajectory looks in terms of our baseline run rate business out for 2 quarters or 3 quarters right now. But now, what we would certainly do is we won the Supplier of the Year award for Collins Aerospace and preferred supplier. I mentioned that in, I believe, 2023, in the summer of 20. Not a single press release when we didn't. I mean, when we get those kinds of things, I'm going to bang the drum and make us annoy. I mean, I'm going to annoy people, right? We're going to celebrate those things, and we're going to, as you know, in sales, we ring the bell. We're going to ring that bell. But I probably wouldn't. I probably wouldn't say we get. I mean, we wouldn't get orders that were big enough to make some kind of press release out of.
Yeah.
At least not yet. Now you've given
Yeah.
me something to think about, though.
There you go. Exactly.
Where's
Good.
our $2 million order? I'd probably say something about that. Yes.
Right on. We look forward to that day. Then, I mean, if you're in our seat as investors, what do you think is the most important thing to sort of watch for, maybe some metrics or catalysts to watch out for going forward?
Yeah, good question. I think the continued revenue increase. I think the general business climate in the U.S., again, optimistic about that. So I don't think anything special beyond that, because we are really, I mean, from the graph I showed with our past history, this is not, as rocket science, as they say. This is just execution. I won't say just, I shouldn't say that, but this is execution. And I mean, I think all of our shareholders should be sending me the email that says, why is this taking so long? But we will get it there. I'm very confident we will get it there, unless there's some disruptive, crazy thing in the world. But you could say that,
That goes, yeah.
I mean, and another COVID-like thing. Not
Right.
that it would be that, but none of us can plan for that. So
Yeah.
I'm optimistic.
Excellent. Excellent. And then I guess last sort of question is, have we missed anything? Is there anything you want to make sure that we reinforce, or is there a key takeaway today?
Well, I think the key takeaways are quality, experienced team who knows how to get this done, with a blue chip customer list who are very interested in our success. And we have the formula. It's just a matter of focusing on the formula until we get our feet under us a little bit better. And then we can have maybe the more fun discussion about what's next and what's bigger and how do we drive this thing to a much bigger level. But right now, I don't know, $10 million US run rate and profitable, good margin, let's go.
Step one. Absolutely. This is awesome. We've been speaking with Ted Clark, CEO of Y2Y Corporation. symbol YTY on the Venture Exchange. Ted, it was great catching up, and we certainly look forward to keeping a close eye on how things are going.
Okay, enjoyed it, Paul. Thank you very much, and look forward to moving this forward into the future.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.